This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by American Helix. The American Helix is a revolutionary new concept in smoking technology. Designed and manufactured by American glassblowers, this pipe is light years ahead of its time. Based on Bernoulli's principle, the shape of the pipe, along with an innovative intake system, creates a Venturi effect through precision microholes in the chamber, which results in a slower burn that conserves tobacco and gives a smooth, refreshing smoking experience, making the American Helix the smoothest hitting pipe on the market. For further info or to locate their products, you can find them online at AmericanHelix.com. That's AmericanHelix.com. Three, two, one. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 167. This is your host, Jason Michael, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today's episode features Q-Heffner. He is known for his QFZ carb cap, which he claims may actually be one of the first carb caps made for quartz bangers. And we get into that topic conversation. We cover all kind of good topics as always, and it was a lot of fun chatting with him. You can find all his social feeds and links in the show notes, and he tells you also at the end of the show about all that stuff. And part of my hoarse voice, I just got off the phone with him and I'm recording the intro. And I think I'm coming down with a cold, which would figure on my day off. So we'll see what happens here. But that being said, again, thank you for tuning in. We're back on track with the show. My divorce has been finalized, so things are now in a better space here for me mentally and emotionally and all that shit that goes along with big life-changing experiences. So, yeah, I definitely feel like I've had the weight of the world released from my shoulders. And now I just need to go get a massage, and that'll feel 1,000 times better than that. So yeah, so we're back on track. We got some artists been reaching out to come on the show. I've been reaching out to other artists, and we're just super pumped. This is the official week. If you're listening to this live, coming out here on Monday, this week is the beginning of our classes for the beta test group. 3 guys on there that are going to be going through the process of learning from me via the internet world, and we're going to go through and break this thing apart and fine-tune it so when we can release the classes live as for you a chance to come take them. Everything will be fixed and good to go. So I'm just over the moon excited over this shit. So, and again, I wouldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for you listening to the show. So thank you 1,000 times over. Let's see what else is going on here. Look at my notes. Yes. So I'm not sure if you've heard before though, but I have mentioned before. Being the Flow magazine is one of our sponsors for the show, and they're a founding sponsor. They've picked up here on year 2 of sponsorships for them. And as part of a thank you to you listening to the show, they're offering 10% off their subscriptions. And all you have to do is when you go to the Flow magazine, if you have not yet subscribed to their magazine publication, just put in the code WISEGUY at checkout, WYZGUY at checkout, and you'll get 10% off of that. And their recent edition that they came out with was their Marbles edition. And I'm still fine-tuning my compression marbles. It's been a lot of fun doing it, and I've actually gotten a lot better. Something I've struggled with over the years was trying to figure out how to do a marble, an implosion marble on solid. And so talking to Sabina Boehm here on the podcast, and then also just checking out the magazine recently, just turned my world upside down in my concepts of how to make compression marbles. And now I can do them, make some cool flowers, and I'm going to keep practicing. And that's what it's all about. Practice, practice, practice. And let's see, Mountain Glass. Yeah, Mountain Glass, another one of our foundational sponsors. They've been here since the beginning. And go there and check out all their sales and excitement going on. And Mountain Glasses are celebrating 15 years of awesome customer service. They now have glass you can get that is exclusive to them that they're calling the Mountain Glass Vault, as well as just other odds and ends of different merchandise and glass from all the little boutique companies around the country now that are producing glass, which I think is fucking amazing. How we've gone from 3 major companies to now we have probably a dozen. I'm assuming right now that are manufacturing color. So it's pretty cool. And also want to let you know, as a reminder, I'm still continuing my giveaway bribe to you. Been mailing out, which tomorrow morning I'm actually going to be mailing out more pendants as a thank you. A little Wise Guy pendant that I make. You can get one for free, and all you got to do is, there's actually 2 ways of going about it now I'm offering. One is to go to iTunes and leave a review, a little write-up on there telling everybody in the world why you like the show so much, as well as a star review. And then also, if you can do that, or if you want to do both, you can also go onto your social feeds, Instagram, share a post, take a screenshot of your favorite episode, and then just post that on Instagram. Tag the show, WYZGUI_radio, at WiseGuy_radio. And I will then see that you tagged us in there, and then I'll send you a DM and asking you for your address and shipping information. And I just want to keep spreading the show and getting the word out there. We've hit over 100,000 downloads on the show, which means that the show has been listened to at least 200,000 times. And it's amazing. I can't even explain how I feel about it. It's kind of crazy and weird and amazing and humbling all together. It's just, I love this community. Just want to continue to do it. Hoarse voice and all. So that being said, I'm going to bounce. Keep this short and sweet. I hope you enjoy this talk with Q. Q and I talked after the show about some things him and I are going to have coming up here for you to continue these chats on YouTube. So just a little hint there. But yeah, until next time, love you bunches. Enjoy this talk with Q-Heffner. We'll see you next time on the episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. Until then, enjoy 167 with Q-Heffner. Talk to you. Peace. What's up, Q? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, bud.
Yeah, dude, no problem. Thanks for coming on. We've been playing phone tag and mystery challenges and all kind of fucking crazy shit to get you on the show, so it's about time we get you on here.
No doubt. I've been seriously looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, likewise. And just kind of a side note, you're instrumental also in helping us get Sabina on the show, so I got to thank you, on the air for helping get her on the show. I definitely, not only myself, I'm sure the community was inspired to have her on, and that feminine and female energy, and also talking about marbles and not just making pipes all day. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I was, when she told me you had approached her about it, I was like, you gotta do it. I listen to that guy all the time, and it would be awesome to hear you on there.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much. Yeah. So before I get on too many tangents here, if you want to give us start off with your superhero origin story and how you got started blowing glass.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I got started down in Tacoma about 13 years ago. It was kind of a rando situation, actually. I was out getting some coffee with my son. He was a little baby at the time, and I was pushing a stroller and just walking down 6th Ave, and this guy pokes his head out of an alleyway door, and he's sitting there smoking a cigarette, and he starts chopping it up with me, and one thing leads to another, and he's like, yeah, I'm a glass blower, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, because I'd known a few glass blowers at the time. In fact, one was this guy named Amir, who later on has gone on to do lampwork supply. So, in fact, he was at that shop, and he told me, I was like, who do you work with? And he started listing off these people, and da-da-da, and he got to Amir, and I'm like, hey, I know Amir. And I was like, can I come check it out? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I poked my head in, and I was like, hey, so, how does this work, bud? You teach? And, we did some talk and worked it out, and he got me started on a national blowpipe. One of the things, and we just like basically strapped it to the bench, and
Yeah.
that was my start. And my first kiln, the guy loved Call of Duty so much that I was able to trade him a PlayStation for his kiln because he didn't have a PlayStation anymore to play Call of Duty anymore. So I got my first kiln with a PlayStation.
Hell yeah, that's killer.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was down there with him, and started me out, pushing mushrooms, and um, the doing wrap and rake spoons on 26 mil, pulling points. And I was actually able to make a wrap and rake spoon from a point on my very first night. Like, I pulled it off.
Awesome. That's gotta feel
so
good.
Yeah, I've always felt, slightly accomplished from that. I was like, hey, I can do this, man. Like, but it's always kind of felt natural. Like, out of all the different art mediums that I've jumped into, this is the one that just like made sense. Like, I can walk up to somebody and they'll do something, and I'll see it. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, click, 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 and it just makes sense.
Yeah, isn't that weird, dude? Because I say the same thing. It's just
really.
Yeah, for me, glasses. I mean, I can't paint for shit. I can paint a house, but I can't paint a fucking painting. It's like.
Yeah.
I don't. But I think my problem with that is I don't know when to stop. With glasses, like I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I got to stop right here. I'm gonna fuck up, or something. But
yeah.
But glasses always just felt natural. I don't know what it is. It's just I don't know if it's because with my ADD and the danger involved in melting glass, the potential dangers that it makes me focus on it maybe, or get a better flow state. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, the flow state. I've been hearing you guys talk about that on your show. That's a beautiful place to be, man. I love that place.
Yeah, me too. Brings a tear to my eye sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, no,
But
that's for real. Like, I'll be sitting at the lathe just turning and burning, sometimes making something, and I'll nail something. It'll look so crispy, and I'll sit back, and my eyes will well up a little bit. I'm like, God, I love this job.
Yeah. I hate to go on tangents, but this whole show is gonna be like this today. So the other day I'm working, and I'm learning how to make horses right now, which I want to talk about in a little bit later on, because I want to talk about your way that you create things, like conceptually wise, and the process you go through.
Yeah.
But I've been working on making horses for like the last, I don't know, I spent 2 days basically, like 2 8-hour shifts just practicing a horse's ass, its tail and the back legs and the body shape. And after like the very last one I did, I felt like I got it. And I'm trying to duplicate one that Miguel Arribas, who's like, as a master lamp worker, this guy is a fucking sorcerer, genie. The guy's incredible. And he hasn't showed me shit. He just has 2 samples of what I'm supposed to do. So like the very end of it, and I'm like on stage, so I'm not like, happy joy on stage Disney. I'm like focused on my shit, looking professional, sort of, kind of. And I finished this last one, and I fucking nailed it. And I like kind of like smiled to myself, and this little kid was watching me. He's like, "Daddy, you did it!" And I was like thinking to myself, like, that's exactly what I just fucking said to myself in my head. Like that 6-year-old boy in my head's like, "I fucking did it."
Yep.
To just feel
you nailed it.
Yeah, and it was just like so good to get, because I was in that fucking flow state. Like I felt comfortable where I was at, and it was. So, anyways.
Oh, buddy, when you're in it and you're on it, you know it, and it's just like like surfing a wave. Like you're just standing on top of the world.
Yeah, man, I get goosebumps right now just thinking about that shit. Like, fuck.
Yeah, man. I love our medium.
Yeah.
So
anyways, where you were at?
The origin. I blew glass at that shop there on 6th Ave for, I don't know, a few months, and then probably like most everybody glass blower up that I know of, I had a falling out with the guy that was teaching me, and I almost had him pinned to the wall by his throat at one point.
Nice.
It's like, I'm out. And up a shop in my garage. I raged there for probably a good year, just like turning out, proto every day, doing something, trying to get my hands, keep them going. I was on the torch probably 6 to 8 hours a day for a solid year straight, no questions asked, because I knew it's like, if I want to get good at this, I got to be on it. I can't stop,
Yeah.
And so then me and my kid's mom separated, and I ended up getting into this huge warehouse that had 2 4-person benches on it. Probably could have easily been 5. They were up against one wall. And then behind me was a full-size half pipe that we would skate when we would get bored. And then there was like an apartment and a kitchen built into this whole warehouse too. So I lived there in Blue Glass for probably a good year or two out from there. Still just kind of doing proto work and um, not messing around with stuff, but not really getting dialed in. I was just still kind of basic, like really scrubby. Like one point that was really defined was like my termination points were boo boo, man. Like I didn't even know what a termination point was, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to Hemp Fest that year, and I had a huge case of glass, and I was like, I'm gonna walk around and I'm gonna go meet some other artists and see if I can get some feedback, see if anybody's down to trade work. And that's when I got my first lesson in like the shoulder. You know what I'm saying? The window, like I'm not going to talk to you. I'm like, whoa, why is everybody so cold? Because down where I was blowing glass at, everyone was homies. Like the whole concept of collabing with one another, like shit, we've been collabing for years, and it's like now it's the thing. It's finally a thing, and I'm like, yeah. But so I'm walking around, I meet this guy, and I'm like, hey, what do you think? And he's like, and he was trying to be nice, but then he just dug in. He's like, this is shit, man. Like, you don't even have termination points. And I was just looking at him horrified, like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. And so I just kind of like walked off with my tail between my legs. I was like, damn, I didn't, that was mean. But on my way back to the booth, I ran across this blanket, and there were these two dudes sitting there. And one of them had this huge double perk that had been electroformed. And this is like 2006, right? And at the time, I was on what's our pipes? What was the pipe site? Pipes. Oh, whatever.
Glasspipes.org.
You know what I'm talking about. Thank you, glasspipes.org.
Yeah.
So I'm on there, and the only one that was really killing the electroform pieces, like hard that I was seeing at the time was Paco.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, am I actually standing in Paco's, blanket right now? And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like, you would by chance be Paco, would you? And he's like, nah, my name's Nate Dizzle. And I was like, oh.
Hey, that's just as cool.
Yeah, that's how I met Nate Dizzle. But after that, like, I kind of approached him, and I was like, because obviously I was hella embarrassed. I'm like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't, offend or anything like that. And I actually approached him. I was like, hey, if I came out and was your bitch, would you teach me? Would you fine-tune me a little bit? And he's like, yeah, man. And he was living with this guy named Nick, who is Too Hype Productions on Instagram. Much love to him.
Hey, just real quick, dude. I'm not sure if you're going from like room to room, but there's a certain room you go to, and it sounds like you're in your bathroom or something.
Oh no, I'm actually just in the shop standing here.
Okay, weird. Yeah, the signal's just getting weird.
Should I change out my headphones?
I don't know. Are you pacing like around the shop, or are you just standing in one place?
Oh yeah. I'm moving around while I'm talking.
Yeah, so
sit down.
There's one part of your room that you go. Well, it's okay. There's just one part you go to where it sounds more echoey. It's weird. I can tell you're pacing.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh, okay.
It's because how the sound is, like it goes back and forth. I'm like, oh, what the fuck's going on?
Oh man. Well, I'll knock off the pacing then. Yeah, I'm all over my shop. I'm fiddling with all kinds of stuff. I'm always working, man. I never stop.
Yeah, no shit.
So Nick and Nate, he was still living up at his spot up in Seattle at the time, and I would take the bus from Tacoma up to Seattle 2 times a week to just go and sit and talk to these guys and sit on their shoulder and let them in. My reversals to this day, my honeycombs to this day, a lot of the cleanliness in my work is all because of Nick and Nate. So it's I'll every time I see Nate, I always want to give him a hug because I'm so appreciative because I mean, like, he didn't know me from Adam, and he was like, yeah, dude, come on up, I'll show you some stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool.
And that's who he is. Like, I mean, and then he goes on and he makes 7 Point Studio, right? Like, why wouldn't he? So then from there, after that, I moved up to Bellingham, where my kids were living, and started raging up there for a few years. And that was, it's funny because at one point, when Slinger was first starting to make degenerate art, he was going around all over the place, doing interviews and all kinds of stuff. And I got a chance to run around with him and meet a few people while I was there. And I met J Red through him. And I knew he lived up north. And so I hit him up one time, like, yo, man, do you know anybody up north? Is there anybody blowing glass up in Bellingham? Not realizing that this is like probably the biggest mecca for glass artists on the planet right now.
That's right.
And he's like, yeah, go over to this booth over here. And it turned out to be Jake C's booth. And so I got the opportunity to meet him way back in the day and build a friendship with him and buy glass off of him because he used to sell color back in the day. So it was really cool. Like, I met him and another homie named Darren up here. And so it was like there was a really cool community. And then, as time went on, got to meet more. Jeff's up here, Jeff Mellitz. He's a kill, man. His work is incredible. But yeah, so I started meeting all these cats up here and started working around them, and never got a chance to go work with Jake, though. That would have been kill if I could have got a chance with that. But, he was always fun to talk to.
Yeah.
But then I got this itch, and I went on like a world tour and just decided to go travel around the United States. And I first started down in New Mexico, which was crazy. There's such a I don't even know how to explain it's like an old art community there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
it's established.
You don't really ever hear about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Carver B comes out of that group. There's another guy named Richard Hollingshead. I think I got his last name right. But like crazy artists. And I mean, obviously you hear about Carver all the time, but up until recently, Richard you never heard about Richard unless you were there.
Mm-hmm.
But now his marbles are getting out there. And but I got a chance to get on the lathe out there, and that's where I got kind of introduced to the whole lathe experience and, what that was all about. And that just blew my mind away. I was like, whoa, I need one of these in my life, man. Oh, God. Like, just, I don't know. I appreciate the scientificness of glass, that the stuff that, like, Kiva does, just, like, the most detailed. And I don't know. That's something I appreciate in glass a lot. And so playing with the lathe and, having – I don't know. You just got so many more options to do crazy seals and stuff that you wouldn't normally get to do, and I love that. So let's see. Where did I go from there? So then from New Mexico, I went to SoCal down in near Temecula, and I actually got approached by the nephew of one of the Arribas brothers.
Huh.
I got introduced to the whole Arribas family. I was like, in fact, if you go way back on my feed, I'm sitting there perched over his shoulder while he's sitting there making a clear eagle in attack position, like with an 8-inch wingspan on a little inch mount blowpipe. And I'm just like, what? How are you doing this? And he did it in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, right?
So that's when I'm like, wow, the Arribas family, okay. But he approached me because he wanted me to build bonks for him that he could have, put all of his sculptures on. And I was like, wow, yeah, that might be kind of cool. But then I was like, I can't. I got to get back up to my kids. And, I need to be near them. I've been away from them for too long. I've been away from my kids for like 3 years at that point. And I was like starting to lose it. So I was like, screw this. I can't, buddy. I'm sorry. This is probably the chance of a lifetime to work with one of you guys, but I got to bail. And I moved back up to Washington, back up to Bellingham. And I literally got back into town the day the Seahawks played the Denver Broncos and just annihilated them. It was such an embarrassing game. I love both teams, but wow. So, but I was just like, I was kind of stoked because I was like feeling like I was coming back into positive forward moving energy. All the weed laws had been changing. Washington was now a legal state. You had rec stores on every corner. I mean, even now, like up in Bellingham, there's more rec stores than there are 7-Elevens. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that just like boom, opened up the world for me. You know, I started really focusing on rigs. When I first got back into town, I was staying with Jeff Mellitz at his shop, and you know, just kind of getting back into the swing of things, and that was such a it was really cool because I didn't have anywhere to stay at the time because I was like, screw it, I'm moving up here, I got to be with my kids, but I hadn't had a chance to land yet, and he opened his door and was, you know, hella cool about that, and started doing that, and then moved into another studio. Finally, got a chance to get on my feet, get into a studio, and that's when things really started getting crazy for me because this kid, one of the guys that was hanging around the studio at the time, he's like, you know, this is back before there were caps, you know what I'm saying? Before the whole cap movement and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only thing there were OFZ caps, you know, for buckets on motherships. Everyone was just using quarters and flat things and this and that.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, I mean, fuck, we came up with everything to use, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've even tried to come up with some sort of caps or whatever, but this one guy comes in and he says, why doesn't somebody make something that's similar to the OFZ for the bangers? And I was like, you know what? I'll be right back. And I ran downstairs, grabbed some tubing, because I all of a sudden had an idea that popped into my head. And I went down and I built the first cap. And the QFZ, as it was, which I didn't actually want to name it that. It was more of a joke because a buddy of mine works at the ship, and so I'd always come up with stuff to kind of rib him. So they've got the optimal flavor zone, and I want to put a Q in everything because of my name, so I put the quality flavor zone.
Nice.
And I mean, it was really a joke, but unfortunately the community got hold of the name before I could change it, and it was just like, well, at this point, I'm not even going to worry about it. And I actually talked to Scott about it. I was like, hey, does this bother you, bud? If it does, I'm changing it now. And he's like, no, it's cool. You know, it's nothing like our product, you know? So, you know, I at least kind of got the okay from Scott on that one.
Hell yeah.
But, yeah, so I put it out there and I was like, hey, if anybody needs a cap for their banger, I got you. Hit me up. And 3 years later, you know, now the industry is flooded with caps, and I genuinely believe that there's a good chance that I might have something to do with that. You know, that the community is aware of accessories to the level they are, because it's like now, I mean, when I first started making the caps, I was hitting up artists. I'm like, hey, you want to collab with me? They're like, no, I don't do nothing like that. Now, all those same artists that said that are making their own caps. And I'm like, yeah, you don't make that, huh? Uh-huh, I see you. So,
yeah, I'm actually checking them right now online. I just put in the QFZ in Google, and they popped up.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, you gotta feel pretty good about yourself when something you've made China starts to copy.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's
like,
a
I
kick in
guess
the
I
nuts,
made
though.
it now. China's copying me.
Yeah, I know, and I hate it, dude. Because like, there's times where like I'll have people from China do like friend requests and stuff on Facebook, and like I don't know if they're listening because my show's actually listened to in China. I don't know how it's going on, but they're listening to it in China. So I don't know if it's like just like someone listening to the show, or if it's somebody wanting to get a hold of my glass designs or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I hate it.
Dude, the owl game is real.
Yeah, fuck. I got to get it back. It's been out of. I've got a couple. I've been stocking up slowly, but
yeah,
I got to drop a big.
I like
release.
it, man. The owls are big right now. That's a big totem in the world. Like, you look around, like, owls are everywhere. People dig them.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when I started making these things, like, because they weren't quite there yet, and then all of a sudden it was like, bam, everything, fucking patterns and material and everything's, you know, it's gonna be around for a while. I don't see it going anywhere. I think mermaids are the next big thing, though. So we got to start making mermaid rigs and shit.
Really, mermaids? You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what it is, but I got a feeling that's gonna be like
I'm going
the next
for
trend.
seahorses. Seahorses forever.
Some fucking seahorses over here.
Dude, that is ever.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. Oh, did I lose you?
But so yeah, so so now, like, you know, cap game, like present day, they've finally started to kind of like, with all the bubble caps and this and that, it's like it started to give me a breather, and I've been starting to think about other stuff again instead of just like caps for 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day constantly, you know. But I mean, I love making them. Like, I got no qualms with them. I think they're awesome. I love making them. I've never once got bored doing it, and I've probably made 100,000 of the damn things by now.
So when you're selling those things off, are you directly selling them yourself, or are you selling them off to distributors?
I pretty much went towards stores. I tried to keep up with a customs list, but when you're one man or possibly, two people having you help them with some of the side stuff, you can't do it all. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? As much as you try, as much as you schedule your day, like it's impossible. Like something has to give. And, you've got a custom, you've got a regular, and then you've got store orders. And it's just like everybody, has to have it right now. And if you're not, and what's worse is like then you get these kids that are like blew a crop all of a sudden. They think they're the richest people on the planet. And like, they think they need front of the line privileges, and it's like, come on, man, give me a break, dude. So
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking, because I like right now, just as I'm looking through Google search, there's like 6 online stores selling the products.
yeah, probably one of them's my buddy Quartz by Chris. He's an online store.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I mainly deal with that. And I mean, and it's all been through Instagram. I mean, 100% of my business over the last 6-7 years has come through Instagram. It's like the craziest thing.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool, man, how like one little thing like that, like someone comes in with an idea and you didn't see or think about that, and they may not even be a glass blower or even a smoker, but they're just like, hey, what about this? And you're like, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like you're saying, like, and when you're making these things, are you doing quartz and boro, or are they all just boro?
No. I stuck with boro mainly just because quartz is so much more brittle than glass.
Mm-hmm.
And, like when I first started the whole thing, I came up with this hashtag slogan, QFZ for the people. And it was because it's like I wanted everybody to feel like they could have one. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is if you're not an elitist, if you're not, just rolling in dough, you're not going to have a mothership and you're not going to have a bucket. And so at that point, you didn't have the ability to have a well-made low temp dab. And like it sucked because I love low temp dabs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, me too.
And so I wanted to make sure that even if you got stuck having to shell out a couple bucks for a Chinese banger, or if you even were able to have a QCB, because you could get one at the time, I wanted to make sure everybody could have a cap. And so I made them universally so everyone could have them. And under that heading, everyone's going to want color, and you can't put color on quartz, So I just stayed away from quartz the entire time. It's like, nah, you can't put color with quartz, and I want to be able to put color with these things.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So do you have a jig and shit that you use to make sure everything's like all consistent across the board? I mean, not to give away like your trade secrets and shit, but I'm just curious.
The only thing that I would say that I have is a jig is my tungsten pick, and that's just so that I know that the hole coming out the top is squared up the way I like it. But nah, man, I build every single one of these by hand. Like literally, when I tell people that I build them all by hand, I build them all by hand. Like,
nice.
I mean, granted, I'm using the lathe and all that, but nah, it's all me. Every last little bit of it.
Hell yeah.
I might talk people into helping me sandblast once in a while, but most of the, other than that, it's pretty much all me.
Yeah, so are you doing all the sandblasting or like logo making yourself, or do you have an assistant doing that for you?
Everything. Well, I've gone through stages. I've had crews working for me. I've gone through it all, and this has probably been the biggest learning experience of glass for me is these last 3 years doing this caps. Not only in working with glass, but working with people and that dynamic. It's like how to lead people. Like that's no bullshit, like because it's not. They weren't the people that were working with me weren't necessarily under me as apprentices. You know what I'm saying? And so the dynamic was incredibly different.
Yeah.
It was a 9-to-5 experience on an art level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just a production
And
glass
so
studio.
and so I went through all the ups and downs of learning that, and that was hard. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's tricky, but I find like you'll find the right person like in terms of like an artist who is willing to sit and do production or enjoys the production side of things or enjoys the mechanical of it or whatever it is that doesn't need to go and make one-offs all day.
They're far few and in between, buddy.
Oh no,
I feel like
know.
I'm a rare breed because
Yeah.
I could sit and do this. Like honestly, I can't tell you how many times I've thought about going and putting in a thing down at the mothership and going, because I mean that sounds like the perfect job. Like to just go and work on really fine stuff and just that's what you do all day long. You know, because I mean for me, you know, like when I made the caps, like you see, it's the QFZ, you know, or it's QFZ for the people. It's not Q-Heffner. Like I've never been trying to sell my name. I've never been trying to, you know, be famous or, you know, I'm not trying to be the next Scott Deppie or the next Banjo. That's not what I'm after. You know what I'm saying? I would rather just make the stuff, you know, like I would rather work next to the guys making the stuff, you know. I just love doing it. It's you know, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree because like I used to have that argument with one of my older managers about that, how you know we're a dime a dozen, blah blah blah, but they've got a folder full of applications, and I'm like, dude, it's not that fucking simple. Not everybody's gonna want to sit, much less have to follow a specific set of rules, but much less do production all day long like that. You know, it's a different breed of horse.
Oh, and not only just production, but I had like a 6-hour conversation with the blower that was down on Main Street at the Kingdom, and I was like, where do you guys get your color from? Like, because you know, this is probably like 2000. This is probably around 2006 actually, and yeah, like he was telling me some of like the levels, like the only people on par with the analness of the mothership is Disney.
Yeah.
Like you guys are anal as fuck, dude. Like if the pinky is just a little bit tweaked, nope, sculpture's off.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, especially when it comes to our character work. Like it's nice that the regular stuff we do, I mean, we still try to do it exactly the fucking same thing. I treat it like catalog work, you know what I mean? But when it comes to the character stuff, it has to be like, people ask me all the time if I can do shit. I'm like, it's going to be $250,000, so I'm going to have to hire a lawyer.
Right?
You know?
Right?
But yeah, it is. But I like it because it's made me, I've always been that way, like very meticulous, but it's made me be even more so meticulous with what it is. You know, and I just make a game out of it. But I've also learned the process of true production in a glass studio. Of like, some of these guys will go back to our warehouse and just like use our glass saw, and they cut sections of glass. And they know that this section here is going to be the body for A, and this little piece here, you know, and they got everything laid out and ready to go. So you just heat it up, you know, fire polish your shit, and fucking go to town and crank out 20 horses in a day or whatever it is you're making.
Yeah,
you know, it's pretty cool. For sure. And we do definitely have our chances to have our freedom, which actually right now we're in this new transition that we're all getting chances to do a bunch of all new stuff, which I'm super stoked about.
Both in the hot shop and on the torch?
Yeah, the hot shop we're actually going to keep as is just because of some things going down right now and amongst us artists. Nothing bad, just one of our guys is having surgery, so we got to like keep the thing maintaining. But once he's back from rehab, then we're going to go back into some newer shit. Because my goal and perspective, like when I have a meeting coming up soon, is to really get into more sculptural stuff in the hot shop. They've been doing blown glass for so long, and I'm like, I want to come in there and do some solid work. You know, do big character work in the furnace. It'd be fucking cool. Then I see these guys that are doing stuff. Like I was just watching this turtle demo from I don't know if it was in Corning or in Tacoma, but either way, it's just amazing watching the detail levels of things being created now in the hot shop environment. That glass can be, there's so many different things you can do with that glass that you can get away with that you can't get away with in Boro, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's
watching soft glass guys. Like, the one thing I'm bummed about being up here in Bellingham is that I'm not still close down to Tacoma, because I'd be down there in the glass museum all the time. Like, I think once a week they've got, like, customer appreciation day, and you can just go in there and wander around. I'd be there every time.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Yeah, no shit.
It's cool, man. The bridge leading up to it, like Julie's a madman. I appreciate what he's done for us as glass artists, and brought it to the forefront of people's awareness. You know, otherwise, I mean, it's still probably, be underground.
Oh yeah, man! I get people all the time coming in. You know that Chihuki guy? He wears that eye patch. He wears that eye patch. Has a pumpkin head. I'm like, you mean yeah? I know that Chihuki.
That's my cousin.
Yeah, it's so funny. Him and I go way back.
Actually, it's kind of funny. When I first started blowing glass, I was just making pipes all the time, you know. And then I got this itch. I was like, I think we all get the itch eventually. And we're like, I need to stop making pipes and start doing some art for a while.
It lasts about
And
a day and a half.
yeah, and all my buddies, they were razzing the shit out of me. And they're like what? So we got to change your name to Kahuli now? Nah. So that one actually stuck for a minute. But
That's fucking funny.
yeah, that was pretty funny. I think I've heard every version of a Q name you could have.
Oh, I'm sure. So, yes.
Hell yeah, we're taking dabs now, aren't we?
Yeah, you can hear my torch.
Yeah, I just fired up my bowl too.
Yeah, I heard you. I was like, that sounds about right.
Smoke sesh.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you smoking on, bud? We got some Gorilla Glue out here in Washington.
Yeah, this is some OG Lake. It's called, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. It's higher in CBD,
Oh, nice.
which is new for me because now that we have the access to this shit, even though it's not like legally accessible, we still have access to it now. Actually, knowing what we're
Right.
getting, So
There's a strain out here called Harlequin that's basically a pure CBD strain, and when you dab it, it tastes like pure cherry cough syrup.
interesting.
Yeah, and it's like weird. Like you dab it at first, and you're like, did someone spill something on my wax? No, that's what it's supposed to taste like. Cherry cough syrup.
Huh.
CBDs for the win.
Yeah, dude, I dig it. I slept like a fucking champ last night. I haven't really. That was like my first night smoking this shit, and I've been having some. I've always had shoulder issues from like an old rollerblading injury from like 20 years ago.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So like this week it's been flaring up on me. I think it was from making those horses for 2 days in a row, just being in the same pose.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So like I slept like a fucking champ last night. It was nice.
Nice.
But I've got this old recycler. Well, I shouldn't say old. It's only 2 years old, but it's like my first ever Klein recycler that I've made, the one and only. So it's like I'm keeping this bitch for myself, and it's got a couple cracks in it. It's all like I've used Frick because I was
still haven't made a piece with a Klein in it. I still want to do that. I haven't played with that one yet.
Yeah, that's why I did it, because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this right fucking now. So I did, because I knew I wouldn't do it otherwise.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. So I guess in terms of now you're selling your shit, like, are you still strictly selling your work yourself, like to shops and stuff? Or are you trying to like, now that, I guess supply and demand in a sense now that the market's flooded with caps and egg timers and Q-tip holders and everything else under the fucking trendy sun.
Yeah.
Which you're saying, it helped slow you down. So did you raise your prices to slow your demand down too, or did you just kind of keep things the same and just like let it catch up with itself?
A buddy of mine told me about that whole supply and demand price hike thing. I never really did that. I always wanted to make sure that the customer knew that they knew what they were going to get every time. And the only time prices were anything other than the normal price was like when they would go up for auctions, you know what I'm saying? And then it was like, hey, y'all pay what you want to pay for it. I'm not saying one way or the other. And I had some caps go for some crazy prices doing that too. I was like, wow, yay.
Man, I wish. I always do mine as steals of the month because I always expect for it just to go usually just above wholesale, typically.
Yeah.
And I don't push them because my whole goal is for my customers to afford. I think my following is more of the middle class folks, which I love, and that's always been kind of my perspective because I've always been inspired by like the Depression era glass, how like everybody that was broke could still afford something kind of shit, So I'm not saying everybody's broke that buys my glass, but ideally I'd like to make it affordable. But it would be nice to do
but
an
everybody
auction,
can't afford a $1,500 piece.
right?
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
And I do make those and sell them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Totally.
Totally.
But production wise or auction wise, I've never had really good luck getting anything over too much. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's.
I
you have
think
a
with
trick
my
to it?
auctions, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's more or less just really watching it. If you're hitting something on an auction and you don't really have the audience for it, then it's kind of, I don't know. When I was doing the auctions at the time, I had an audience, and it was people were looking for it, and so I would throw up collab caps that I was doing with people at the time, um, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, and it's kind of a pain now too. Like once Instagram got bought out by Facebook and they changed all the algorithms and how things were posted, it really fucked things up bad because you didn't get things posting as they were posting. It was like, oh, you like this, so we're going to go ahead and show you this, even though it was posted 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so when it comes to auctions, like that's kind of hard. Like I feel like the auctions for this given time frame, like the only way to get a hit on them, for them to be a true hit, is A, to be collabing with somebody that people are really searching after their work for the moment, and B, advertise it so that people are aware of it to bypass the algorithm issue. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know people can put on notifications or whatever the fuck it's called. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, "Yo, when we post a post, you'll get a head that we've done that."
Yeah.
I think that's really the only way to have a successful auction at this point. But it's become the thing to do, and so just like caps, the community's flooded with auctions. So it's kind of like, you use it as, like when you want to put something out there, like a pendant or something like that, or you do like Salt, where you do something that's committed, where you're just putting something out there and you're using it as an avenue um, to exercise new things. Like, okay, I want to evolve my pendant, and so each evolution of my pendant I'm going to auction off every day. And so it doesn't matter what you're getting for it at that point. It's just more of sharing your experience with the community and allowing them to be a part of what you're doing as you're growing through something. And I think that's a plus too. Is just building the relationship. And not just hitting people who are buying stuff, but hitting the people that buy your stuff, and
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree, dude. I think it's a good topic too, because that's with as big as social media is, and then also trying to learn, like you're saying, like they change shit every fucking week. It seems like. So really, being able to understand that, because I know, like, there's been times where I've done giveaways or mystery box auctions and stuff, and I was posting like 2 days out, and then to every day, maybe like once or twice a day, reposting the same shit, giving updates on it, and then by the time the thing was getting ready to start, I'm like, this is starting tomorrow morning at this time, and then I'll make sure that I'm scheduling my post or whatever I'm posting is going to be on time. And then people are waiting for that shit, or look who's commenting, and if they're commenting, say, hey, can you guys share this on your Instagram, and try to get the shares going. And it's really important. I should do a whole episode on that whole successful Instagram post or auctions, because it's such a weird thing. And now having it set up where you can open it as a business, you can set your shit up to where you can look at insights and stuff. You can see male, female demographics, time of day, the age group that's listening and watching your shit, how many times things are either viewed or just seen or liked. It's pretty fucking cool, man. So if you have an Instagram,
with Instagram,
if you have an Instagram, dude, make it a business page, and then
my god,
and if you don't have a Facebook business page, get a Facebook business page, because then you can link your Instagram post to your Facebook posts, and they share it on there. You can do all your insights. There's this thing called a hamburger, which is like a little symbol that's in the top right corner of your Facebook thing. And you can go to that and set all your insights and have that connected to a website that you may have, and really see how much traffic is going from your social media to your website. Like there's all this
no kidding.
Yeah, dude, there's a couple podcasts I listen to.
Facebook scares me, bro.
Yo, tell me about it.
That is like a big giant troll den, man.
Well, dude, and Amazon's connected to all this shit. I
take a shower after I get onto Facebook.
Yeah, I don't even go into it anymore. I just use the group pages. I can't stand the shit anymore, hardly. Instagram I love, but the Facebook, I don't know. I'm over Facebook, except for the occasional cat video or whatever bullshit. or some band I come across. Like I came across this band the other day that was playing in the subway kind of thing, and I was like, oh my god, these guys are fucking incredible. But
yeah, I think if I could figure out a way to get out of the personal part of Facebook and get, because I know that as far as like a glass presence on Facebook, like nothing draws me like that. Because I mean, like there's a Millie Facebook page, and I know like if you're selling tools as a glass, as a glass blower, there's a page, and I'm like, okay, now that's cool, and I wouldn't mind that, but like oh Jesus, the trolls, So it's just like,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it, like really getting closer and closer to setting up just a business page so that I could utilize all that networking and stuff. I know those boys from Torch Talk,
Uh-huh.
isn't that what it's called on YouTube?
Yeah.
I know they do that Facebook, and I appreciate what they're doing. Like I'm kind of on both sides of it. I'm like, what is this gonna do? Because it's like glass blowing is being broadcast now, and it's just like it's the dynamic of people can learn, but it's just like I don't know, like it's good and it's bad. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have opinion about it, but I still dig what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree, 100%. It's just the way that the thing, just especially with the younger generations out there. Like I hear people all the time at work are like, "Yeah, we're watching glass blowers on Instagram." It's like, okay,
Yeah.
are you watching like hot shops? You're watching pipe makers, like these little, and they're younger kids too that are saying this. So that's the only problem with having an Instagram that's business is it's open for any age group. So like in your description, you need to put like 18 or whatever law, because if you're in a different state, say you're in fucking a legal state, you gotta be 21 to quote unquote purchase or view tobacco products or whatever alcohol, marijuana
Yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean? Whatever the fucking law is. So I don't know. Whatever. You got to put some kind of disclaimer in there. But that being said,
You
man,
got to, or else you're going to be in prison like Chong.
Yeah.
That was the bullshit that Chong got hemmed up for.
Right? Yeah. And it's just, I think the whole thing that's cool, though, is it gives us a chance to really fine-tune our stuff so we can know when we could cater to our true fans. Because our true fans will be the ones, like you're saying, you have like a certain following that knows your work, and they're going to be purchasing and bidding on your auctions because they're following your shit. But like I've got 10,000.
And they support what you're about.
Yeah, yeah. And I got 10,000 followers plus on my Instagram, and I'm sure a third of those people are actually like my true fans, which I love and appreciate. I mean, all 10,000 on there, whether they're a fake thing or not, I appreciate it either way. But it's just getting out to the people, because if there's like there's a book out there, I think it's called 1,000 True Fans or some shit, and it's the whole idea that if every one of those people spends $100 a year, that's $100,000 a year you could be bringing in.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it adds up quick.
Yeah, fucking A, dude. Right.
So. And honestly, like that's why I take the time too. Like I saw what opportunities the caps were bringing me, and it's like it gave me much opportunity to meet people. And so like any and every single chance I got, to like build relationship, as it were, I did. I took the time, and that was another thing that made it tough. Is it's like I'm not going to avoid you. I'm not going to I'm going to be real with you through all of it because. That's who I am, and that's how we get things across. And I've felt that people have really appreciated that. So it's like, hey, I blow glass, and I like to make things for you, but I'm a human being, and I love things just like you love things. And at the end of the day, I'd love to sit down and smoke a bowl with you, or take a dab with you, So I don't know. I like that personableness with and how glass brings it, and I think if you utilize that, that's what really pushes you forward. And I think you have to keep a constant presence to be able to pull that off. Like you have to be, you really have to be posting quite a bit. And that's something that I've not been able to do because of how busy is. I haven't been able to post as much as I wanted to.
Yeah, man. It's funny you say that because I follow a couple guys just to see, because I noticed that they have these huge followings on Instagram, and I was always curious. And it's Germ and Skaz and JD Mablesden, and I'm always curious, how many times a day? And I get notifications at least 3 times a day from Germ and from Skaz posting, whether it's a video of them out playing or their glass or both.
Yeah.
And they're constantly keeping their feed going because you have to, like you're saying, the way these algorithms work. If you don't post for like 2 or 3 days, you get lost in the fucking weeds, and you got to build that presence back up again and keep posting and posting.
Yeah, and that's the thing that sucks about the algorithms is it's like, that it forces you into kind of like a neither realm. If you're not posting, and which it's cool. Like I like it, but at the exact same time, like. Life is real and Instagram isn't in a way, and it's like, I want to keep that solid presence there, but at the exact same time, I can't have life revolving around some computer thing because, I don't live in the Matrix and I'm never gonna.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I don't remember which pill it is, but I ate it and got the fuck out.
Well, there's, as an investment, there's like different apps out there or companies that you can, for like $10 a month, you can preload a whole shit ton of stuff, and it just cycles in post for you. Like goes,
Whoa.
Which makes life a lot easier. And you can do that with things for Twitter and Facebook and everything else that are just auto posts. And on the Facebook business page, you can actually set shit up on there already to pre-post things. It's like if you have a group thing that every today's Thirsty Thursday, show us your favorite beer mug you made or some horse shit. That every Thursday that post could be set up to post that thing, and then everybody will post underneath it their comments or whatever. So it's just getting into these things, and I only know this shit because I listen to people tell me about it on podcasts.
Yeah, but you know what I find the problem is with that stuff is you either have to do that or you have to blow glass. You have to pick, because you can't do both.
Yeah, dude, I take it when I'm sitting on the shitter, and I'll pre-post a whole bunch of stuff, take advantage of that time because I'm not willing to be.
That's smart.
I don't sit a lot, or if I'm driving my long commutes, I hate to say it, but there's times where if there's no traffic and I got a straight drive, I just hit autopilot and just access my Evernote, and then I just do shit, and I can leave comments or whatever.
Nice.
Take advantage of the time, but mostly when I'm driving, it's podcasting. But the ones I'm talking about, it's called let me make sure I was saying it right. But the chick's name is Amy Porterfield, and she was first known for like the Facebook strategist person. And
okay.
Yeah, it's Online Marketing Made Easy is the name of the show, and like her show topics are fucking on point with everything that's going on current in like social media stuff and how to post certain things, and she stays up to date with all the updates that Facebook is doing and all kind of stuff, and it's all the cool just business concepts. If you're doing online courses, how to do webinars, content versus paid content, they did one that was called Demystifying the Facebook Pixel, and that's all about that little thing I was telling you about, the 3 lines up in the top right corner.
Okay.
And then she did an episode on the new rules of Facebook marketing. So it's just when you're on the torch, you want to listen to something, get some kind of some kind of knowledge on your business. This podcast are the way to go.
I'm definitely a podcast dude when I'm blowing glass for sure. Well, I listen to I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of many.
Yeah. So go back to about the selling your shit. So do you do trade shows at all ever? Or do you not do the trade shows?
I didn't with the caps because, for the entire time I was making them, they were selling themselves. Like I didn't need to get more orders because I had more than enough, which I kind of saw it bit me in the ass, because I didn't realize that I could utilize the trade shows for something completely different other than that. And basically it was like, building relationships with my peers, like other glass artists. Because what ended up happening was the first company to knock me off, because there was 3 of them. I refused to do business with one of these stores because like the guy had the most insane racism and anger and hate that I'd ever experienced. And I was like, yo, I'm not going to do business with you. And so he literally took my product and went and hired a bunch of thirsty artists and had them knocking me off. Right. And
that sucks.
So I made it hard to post too, bringing that back. I would post something and then he and make a post just similar to it. Like he was using my business model as his own. In fact, if you go to his email is QFZ for the people.
Huh. Shitty.
Yeah, it's crazy. And what he did was he would go to these trade shows and he would link up and he would buy artist prep from them, which I was like, oh, I should be there talking to them because, like, I don't have to buy prep from another artist because I'm working with them, I get my half, they get their half. It's not like that, So I in hindsight, I kind of wish I had gone to trade shows, but, at the end of the day, I didn't have time. I worked for 16 hours a day nonstop for the last 3 years, and it's been crazy. So, but as far as like selling my work now, I've built a lot of relationships with stores. And so now, it's kind of like I just reach out to the stores and be like, hey, I'm not really trying to push the caps as much anymore. I'm trying to like step back and, look at other things to make. Like I've just been lately,
Oh, your signal's breaking up a little bit, dude.
Oh, I'm not pacing anymore.
Weird. Yeah, I was like, good. All right, repeat what you were saying about what you're.
Am I back to normal?
Yeah,
Normal?
yeah, you're back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're saying about making new stuff.
Yeah, so I just like, with the glass kind of starting to slow down, it's allowed me to kind of relook at glass and be like, well, what am I going to make next? And then it kind of brought up the whole, well, wait a minute, why am I even making glass? Because it has to start there. And so I've just been kind of into glass blowing, you know what I'm saying? And just this, what I want to do with it, because it's like I have so much now under my belt just from the last 3 years that it's like I have a huge platform to step off of. And it's like once I've decided where I want to go with it, then I'll probably just reach out to stores, that I've built relationships with, because I've got a pretty decent handful of them that like I know the people, like I'll sit down and break bread with them type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, hey, this is I'm to the market now, and I feel like I've established myself with them enough where it's like they know I'm going to bring something legitimate to the table, and when it comes time to put it out there, they'll help me. I'm also some quartz too, so I'll be just selling that one off to people, which is kind of like a little. I haven't put it out there on Instagram yet, but I've been working. I know there's a big movement on quartz, and so it's kind of weird actually. There's 3 of us up here, all probably 30 miles of each other, that have all been working on a thermal bucket all at the exact same time, unbeknownst to one another.
It's what's fucked up, dude, is here in town, my roommate and I were working on something very similar, and I saw somebody, I don't remember who it was, they posted with the frit in the bottom of the piece, so you can see the difference in the color changing, because we both were like, that.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I was talking about. He's right down the street.
Yeah, so we did that. And we talked about that. We're like, damn, this would be cool if somehow we could actually make this work. And then I saw the post, and then I saw someone bitching about it, and then maybe it's not safe, and the cadmium bullshit. But it was so funny. It's like we've had this product in front of us the entire time that tells us temperature. Or like a hypercolor shirt.
That's an interesting conversation, because I've actually sat and talked to people about that exact same thing. So the whole quartz thing and all of it, it's a really interesting market, and in probably about 15 years we're going to start to see what it's doing to us. You know what I'm saying? What the Chinese quartz is doing to us, what the sandblasted quartz is doing to us. The guy that I'm working with, that I've been working with him basically since I started making the caps. He was another quartz maker, but this guy's a 3rd generation quartz worker, so like he's been doing it for forever. And he's got a lot of knowledge, and anytime something new comes out on the market that has anything and everything to do with quartz, I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? And he's like, there's this and that and this and that, so it's kind of fun. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked to drop the product that we're gonna, it actually we'll be dropping in the next few days.
Nice.
So,
well, I think the whole underlying fucked up thing though with the whole situation is how so many people in this community could be thinking about the same idea at the same time. I mean, it's like the whole, no idea is ever original. But the fact that we do it all at the same fucking time, I mean, literally within like the last 3 months, Richard and I were like,
oh, seriously?
I wonder. Because I was using some cadmium yellow one day, and I'm like, and he looks at me, and I looked at him, and then we both kind of had this thought about it at the same time, and then started thinking about timing it and see how long it takes to get to a certain temperature and what the temperature is, and get like a laser, gimmick to see how the temperature might read on it, and blah blah blah. And yes, it's just weird. Like I know like, years ago, my brother and I were practicing making eyeballs, and like there was all of a sudden this eyeball movement going across the country. Like all of a sudden,
huge.
And I don't know if it was like a salt class or a tour that he did that inspired a bunch of people, but there were a shit ton of eyeballs. Or like Ryan Fitt, he was doing his eyeballs.
Yeah, actually, there's someone. It's kind of crazy that you say that, because I'm just sitting there thinking about it, and I struggle. Like one direction that I have wanted to really push myself is in sculpting, and like over the last year, I've taken probably like 3 or 4 different classes that all were around sculpting, because I really want to get into that. I love it. Like it does something.
Dude, you should take my class I'm offering.
I actually probably will, because I'd love to get like a Disney perspective, on sculpting as well,
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I sit there and I think about it, I'm like, fuck, it's the most natural progression to go towards an eye since we've been making glass eyes since the dawn of man.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Assault has perfected it so beautifully that I'm like, geez, I don't even want to do an eyeball.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, I don't even want to go
Yeah.
there. It's like, this does such a good job. Like, I love his work. In fact, he's one of the ones that I got to take a class of. Him and Voorhees were teaching a class, and I was like, fuck yes. I mean, Lucan's a G anyways. He's like one of the funniest, nicest guys on the planet, regardless, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That on his shoulder and, like, have him break shit down. And he's a good teacher, too. Like, he knows how to teach.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And I like to hear that kind of stuff because not everybody can teach.
Yeah, no, I've definitely I've seen some things. Like, most of the classes that I've taken, I've really lucked out. Like, I've had really good teachers. I got a chance to take the Bishop and Vela class, which, love Bishop to death. The Coil and Chaw class, that was just like a sculpting, mind fuck. To watch
Dude,
those
yeah,
two get down.
his class is incredible.
Yeah, next level. Did you see the piece him and Vela just did? The Terp Moose?
I don't. Oh yeah, I think I did. I want to say I did. If not, I can look it up.
Jesus. It's ridiculous. Yeah, look up Vela's page and Shaw's page. They both got it posted, but they killed it. I mean, fuck, this moose is ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But, yeah, so, I mean, like, there's all these different, and another sculptor that I'd really like to get a chance to talk to is the homie Casto, IR Casto, because he's got an even different approach, too. And he's from New Mexico as well. And I was trying to connect with him while I was there, but it just never worked out. But he's another guy that just got a really awesome approach on sculpting. Fuck, actually, there's a few of them I love out there. But, yeah, it's something I really want to get into, man. But I just haven't quite figured out, where to go with it. And the thing is like the whole thing that you touched on a minute ago with, like, we all the same techniques are out there. And we're, I truly believe that the idea pool that we as glass artists pull from, it's all the same ocean. It's all one big ocean, and we're all swimming in it because, most of us have seen our ideas used a couple days after we came up with it too many times for it to not be a reality, But I feel like, my big argument is it's like, and I'll stand toe-to-toe with any glass artist on this one, is, we all do use the same tools, and we do all use the same techniques. You can't get away from that. Everyone pushes a donut. But you know what? You don't have to end up with a Swiss perk, and you don't have to end up with a wormhole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can end up with something completely different. And I get really mad when people are copying, and they're like, oh, we all use the same shit. I'm like, yeah, we do. But that doesn't mean we all have to came up with the same results.
Right.
Well, and so it's been hard for me to sculpt because it's like, I don't want to come up with the same thing that Ghost has come up with and Peter Mueller's come up with and Salt's come up with.
Yeah, no,
I don't want to.
Yeah.
But all the same techniques are there. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, how do I step out into that void on my own? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
hard.
Just finding your voice.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. A lot of it, like my owl thing started with someone at Disney asking me for a custom owl there, which then led to someone on Instagram asking if I can make it functional, which then led to my brand. It's just weird how shit happens. So it's like everybody has their story on their thing, how things come about, which is always when I have interviews on the show and someone has something like that, I always like to ask, how the hell where'd that come from?
Yeah.
So I'm always curious because talking about this now, it's good because I want to talk about this anyways, like the creative spark and the concept because like you're saying, and you weren't stuck in a rut. You were doing that because you had fucking business. People were buying your shit for 3 years plus. But now you're trying to go back out and find what am I going to do now? It's like being an actor that's been off stage for 3 years. Now you're
exactly. It's like you had a role on a TV show that was like 3 years running.
Yeah.
And it's like now that TV show is, it's going to be put out to pasture. I'll probably always make caps, but it's like, I don't necessarily want to, like I want to venture into, something else, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I'm glad that it's happened though, because it's really forced me to look at glass and ask myself, which is I think the most important question we have to ask ourselves as artists, is why am I blowing glass?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why are you doing it? You know, because I mean, you can do anything in the world, you know, but why are you blowing glass? And it's funny because I really started to ask myself that question after I started listening to your podcast, you know,
Cool.
because it's like, you know, why do I blow glass, you know? And, you know, I realized it's like, I love it. You know, I love playing with fire. I love melting things. But like what truly just gets me off with glass is the fact that it can be, it's, it's functional art. You know, that's what really gets me off with glass,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, I like glass sculptures and I like glass marbles. I love making marbles, but the stuff that really gets me is the functional stuff. Like my most favorite thing on the planet to make is wine glasses and cups. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god! Like I have Sunday Cup Day where I invite anybody who's free that Sunday to come into the shop and we just collab on cups and make cups.
That's
You
cool.
know,
Hell
because
yeah.
that shit's fun. Um, you know, but I also like pipes too. Um, but what gets me off about the pipe is how it functions. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like one of my company mottos is, if it doesn't work right, who gives a fuck what it looks like?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. That's how I've always taught it. If your bowl hole is good and you got a good carb and it looks like a piece of shit and you can smoke it, who gives a fuck? It functions. You're not sucking ashes in this hole.
Yeah, like I've seen some petty shit. Like I was over at the homie's house, and this giant collab piece came through, and I mean it was done. And I'm not going to drop names because I love these guys, you know. But it was done by three really notable artists, and if I were to say their names, everybody would know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the worst hitting piece of shit I'd ever hit, and I'm like, yeah, it looks dope, but it hits like shit,
Yeah,
you know. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
just was like, what's the deal? Like, how can you sell this? You know, like, how can you look somebody in the face and sell them a heady straw? You know, like, I don't get it. You know?
I've made a couple of those myself. I know what that means.
Yeah, man. And so, like, I don't know. Everything. Anytime I've ever made a pipe, I've always, it was the function first. And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
realizing that that's something that's part of my core as a glass artist. That's where I've started this whole process over again at, is it's like, okay, build off of function, search for function, so like if I'm going to build a rig, I want it to do something. Like it's going to throw the water, not necessarily like a recycler, but it's going to do something with the water and with the smoke. It's going to do something. It's not just going to, it's not just going to perk. It's going to serve a function that you can see, that you can appreciate. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that being said, as a kid, like what kind of things were you interested in doing? Like what were your dream jobs in a sense?
Wait, say that. Wait,
As
say that again.
yeah, as a kid, like what did you want to do as a kid? Like when I grow up, I'm gonna do this. Like, did you ever have any like
My
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, kind of. Like I feel like my earliest things as a kid, like I was like, oh, I want to be a scientist or something like that. The whole idea of in the lab coat and like mixing things to come up with something else, like I was just like, ooh. But as a kid, like looking back now, I've always been a pyro. I got kicked out of Boy Scouts for being a pyro. Um, like, and I've always been drawn to, like, I remember one time I found a bunch of toys out behind my house in this like field, and I found a book of matches, and I was literally trying to melt the toys together by welding them. Like I've always wanted to like do stuff. And like one time I was working at a Napa. I was working for Napa Auto Parts, and this guy comes in, and he was a glass, or not a glass, a metal sculptor artist,
Mm-hmm.
and he's statement that like with fire, and I was like, oh my god, brilliant. you know
Yeah.
there's something about, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, like our medium is mind blowing. Like people say we're in the technological age, we're in the this and that. You know what? After listening to Kiva Ford and Mike Rahman talk for an hour, we're in the glass age, man. We wouldn't have technology without glass. We wouldn't have science without glass. We wouldn't have nothing on this planet without glass. Glass, everything, and it's mind boggling to the depths that its roots, tentacles touch every facet of our lives, and it's like, wow, I get to be a part of that on the art side, you know?
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
Oh man, listen to me. I'm getting excited to talk. I'm like getting off on it just thinking about it. It's like, I'm a part of that.
Yeah, it's a cool time to be in the glass industry for sure, especially for the time we've been in it and seeing the processes and things change and get our handset skills now to a point to where we're just making what the fuck it is we want to make anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And but the cool thing is there's still room to learn.
Dude, like
I've been at it 13 years, and I'm like, wow, there's still facets. Like I'd love to get into like one of the scientific schools and spend a couple months just like learning seals and stuff like that, and coil condensers. You know, like oh, I don't want to learn that stuff. That's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like I was saying, like with these horses, like I spent the first part of the process. I spent 3 hours just making the fucking tail. You know, just over and over and over and over, just making the tails. And I just had a rod of like 19 mil and pretending that the back end of the rounded part was the ass, and I was just adding and trying. Because Miguel didn't show me how to make it. I had to figure out how he'd made it and how to make mine look like his kind of deal. So,
isn't it one of those like wing whips where you just like do a path and then stretch it out and come back up and catch it, and you do like a wing whip?
It is, but it's like 4 of those, and then like length, because I'm using 8 mil for it. So it's basically like you do it a couple times, but it's framed in with the 8 mil. So like on the very last pull, you got to like roll it, because I'm doing it upside down also. So like the belly is facing up, you know, and just to help play with gravity. So when I go to pull it, the gravity's not actually pulling it down; it's pulling it as I'm pulling it up. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of playing with that force. And,
right, to stretch it out and taper it.
Yeah, because it's almost got to have like this reverse teardrop shape to it. It's really tricky. And the puntee is attached, like when you whip the bottom of the horse's tail, like it's coming up like a curl to it. The puntee's still attached to that motherfucker, and you're making the whole horse with that puntee. So you got to make sure that the curl, everything's nice and round and not flat also, because otherwise they can snap on you when you're like adding the head or something to these horses.
Yeah. So. Have you seen that guy on YouTube making the horse? I think it's Lino.
There's an Italian dude I know. One video I've had on my Facebook wall like 20,000 times. He makes it like under a minute in the furnace.
Yeah, I think that's him. Hey, do you know Mike Rahman's page on YouTube?
No, I don't think so. Huh?
It's like I think it's like Mike Rahman 422 or Rahman 422 or something like that. But look it up, dude. He's got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of glass blowing videos on there, like all dope Italian stuff.
Sweet. I would check that out.
Yeah. That's the resource right there, man.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for sharing that. So, yeah, man. So do you have like a specific process for yourself, like when you're going through the process of, or whatever you want, without being redundant there, but, you know, of learning something new for yourself? Like, what do you do? Like, what's your technique?
Like if I was going to like learn a new technique or something like that?
Yeah, like if you saw something like, I want to make that, and you didn't know how to make it, but you kind of understood it.
Well, I haven't. Usually, what I've tried to do as I've gone on in my glass career is I try to not nail it on the first time. You know, don't be hung up on, like, I try to do like, okay, yo, go ahead and set yourself up to do it 2 or 3 times. In fact, it's funny you said that too, because the guy that I was telling you about that I work with in the courts, he's DC Glass on if you want to look him up.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. He told me, he says, the first one's going to suck. The second one is going to be awesome. The third one's going to be a work of art or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because he was like kind of like mentally coaching me when I was getting the cup ready for that cauldron thing, the Copa Invitational.
Mm-hmm.
You remember, did you see any of that popping off on Instagram?
I saw some of it, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I was really stoked to be a part of that. But I like hit him up because I did a jacketed glass for the show, and so I was like, hey, what's your take on jacketing? And da-da-da-da-da. And then he was like, yo. But, you know, always start with clear. Don't try to do it in color first.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I teach the same. Yeah, I teach the same thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, if you can nail something with clear, then the only thing you have to wrestle with color is it going to be a stiff color or not, and compensating for that, you know? Because once you've got the movement of the whatever you're making down, then you're just like, coloring it in essentially.
Yeah, man, and I think too, like for myself, and I haven't done it in a while, but I used to keep the clears. I would call it like a sketch, which I learned from another friend of mine, Christian, who's a soft glass artist in town here, and he always made everything in clear first in the hot shop, and would keep that as a sample to go by, just as a reference, for whatever. So
Yeah.
I haven't. I need to get back into keeping those again. But it's also been a while since
Oh,
I've done new shit. So,
Yeah, totally. Something else you just reminded me of is like if I'm gonna build a rig or if I'm gonna do any kind of vessel, you know what I'm saying?
mhm.
If I'm like really serious about it, if it's not just something I'm just gonna jump on the torch and fuck around with, if I'm serious about it, I break out the black book and I sketch it out first.
Mhm.
Because as I'm sketching it, I'm lining up the moves. Like, okay, I need to build the neck first. Like, say I'm building a rig. I need to build the neck first, and then I need to attach it to the can. Oh, wait, no, I can't do that because I got to put the perk in the can before I do that. You know what I'm saying? So as I'm drawing it, I'm always doing it. And then I remember on glass pipes, I read something somewhere. Someone said, uh, plan your work and work your plan.
Mhm. Exactly.
And that's basically kind of like, like if I'm going to really dive into something new, I'll plan out my work and then I work it just as I laid it out.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. That's
And
I
that
do the same
usually
thing.
works. Nice.
Yeah, and I think it's like to me there's two different mindsets as an artist or glass artist. There's like the artist who just goes off the heart, and then there's like the planner, and then you have like the merging of the two. And when you have the merging of the two, that's when you really create your best work. And I think a lot of us
Yeah.
have both of that, and sometimes it's a struggle to bring them together. But when you do bring them together, again, it's your best work, and usually when you have a new creative process. But I'm glad you brought that up because I do the same shit, man. I just engineer shit on paper first, and I'm in my head like building this thing on paper. Because I'll sit at a red light
yeah.
and start thinking about it in my head first, like, okay, how's this going to go together? And I can kind of see like a 3-dimensional space of it in my brain.
Oh, yeah.
And then I go to paper, and then from paper to clear, and then I go to the final piece. And I love that
And don't
process.
you feel so boss when you put the piece down by the drawing and
Yeah.
it's like hits on? You're like, yes,
Yeah,
I did that.
it's the best, right?
Yeah, I
And
love that feeling.
Yeah, and so and to people need to, the audience wise needs to listen, to understand that those that aren't doing this, just try it if you're struggling with trying to find your voice or figure something out. Try to just engineer it on paper first, make a blueprint. Like I don't remember who it was I had on talked about working with Mickelson, and he will literally make a blueprint and like makes everything. This is the size that this piece is going to be, and makes the piece and holds it up to it and makes sure everything's calibrated properly.
Oh, really?
Which is to me makes total fucking sense.
You know what? When you said calibrated, that reminded me. That's a tool that I've added to my arsenal since I've gotten back to Bellingham.
Mm-hmm.
Is a set of calipers. Like I end up miking a lot of stuff. Like I'll mic my openings. Like I mic a lot of stuff now.
I haven't ever heard that term before. What does that mean?
What?
When you mic something open.
Oh, mic is short for micrometer.
Okay.
Like if you're I used to do machining too. I took some machining for a while. And so if you're like miking something, you're measuring it, you're putting a micrometer up to it, and you're getting a measurement off of it.
Okay.
But yeah, so like if I put a set of calipers on it, I'm measuring it with the calipers or whatever. But yeah, I've started to do that because like if you want to sleeve something, you want to know how big your inner layer is before you're sliding it into something else, and or like with the bangers and the caps, every single cap is fitted to the banger. And, sometimes I got to mic the openings and be like, I'm working in like 100,000ths of an inch clearance on glass sometimes, it's like right there.
Man. And I wish these companies would get their shit together and make all their fucking 14 mils all the fucking same.
Well, I think the joints are the same. I think where you run into issues is who made the joints. Because if it's a German joint, it's going to be made one way. If a Chinese joint, it's going to be made another way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Because like I've got 3 different types of joints here at my house. I'm 14 mils, and we were making some custom bangers the other night. Some handmade ones. and they were too
Yeah.
fucking big. And my tool works fine, but they were too big for the fucking joints we have.
Ooh, you probably got some Chinese females there.
Something, dude. I'm fucking bummed.
You got to stop buying that Chinese glass.
Yeah, I think they're Vistables. I don't know. Or however you say that name.
You get them from Mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a sale on Chinese joints all the time.
Yeah, they do. I
I
see
think,
that.
but Mountain's legit. You work with Lampwork Supply too?
No, man. I've strictly just go through fucking Mountain Glass. Honestly.
Buddy, you need to expand on that. You gotta mess with Lampwork Supply too.
Okay.
They're I mean, I'm not saying Mountain is lacking in any way, but I mean, you got to hit all your sources in our industry, and you're missing out if you don't, if you don't work with these guys because they got a good connect on color, and they're good people. You want customer service, like they got good customer service too.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man. Mountain Glass actually they had this new vault thing they're doing with like all these boutique companies out there. They're getting all this exclusive glass and shit in.
Nice.
I don't know
Oh,
if you saw
like Gannett and all those guys.
Yeah, all of them. Like every little small company that I've seen on Instagram
Good.
is now
That's
distributing
awesome.
through Mountain Glass. Yeah, that's what I said.
That's really awesome.
And some are like rare batches, trial batches, different things like that. And then some are just like exclusive to them. Some's the shit you can get from other companies.
Right.
But yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
Mountain's good. I was stoked to find them because I mean, all the old school companies like they kind of faded away. I think one of them became something else, but I mean, like, Whale Apparatus is just pretty much a fucking internet site now. I think. They're barely doing anything, but they're the ones to go to for all the lathe stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's neat seeing all the. I got to just say neat, but just there's been the pipe industry has expanded into different markets, including selling glass and supplies and.
Mm-hmm. And tools.
Yeah,
Man,
tools,
there's some up and coming tool makers out there that like are badass. Like, there's one of them out there that I've been picking up a few of his tools here and there, and I just love them.
Yeah, tools are fun. I'm pretty exclusive with what I use, but I definitely like the right tool for the right job kind of concept.
Oh, it's crucial.
Yeah, speaking of that, well, no, I'm not gonna ask you that because that's a question for later.
Oh yeah.
For the fire in the kiln round gimmick, or crashing the kiln round, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, man. Well, that being said,
exactly.
Yeah. So there's a show coming up too over at Tea Leaf. You got some stuff going into.
Mm-hmm.
I want to chat about that real quick. When's that going to be happening?
The Tea Leaf is having their UV show on the 29th, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty much sure that's it. But yeah, Gabe down there, he's awesome. He's always putting on some kind of something awesome. It's either a class or a show. But yeah, this one's going to be the UV show, and I'm sending a bunch of UV work down there. Some UV caps where I've version 2.0, 3.0, where I've actually put a compound bend in the actual capillary tubing so you can still spin the oil without having to do it yourself. But I mean, if you got ADD, spin away. But if you want to be lazy like me, you can just throw the cap on and it does it all for you. But I'm sending a bunch of UV caps down there, and then I'm also, like I said, I was messing with a lot of vessels, been doing some fun Q-tip holders and just simple stuff, that I can spend a day messing around with some friends. Like I've done one with Brock Marvel. I did one with one of my old apprentices, Juicy Bones. About to finish one, hopefully, with Sabina. She's finishing up the girl for me today. The jar's done. I'm just waiting on the lady. And then you and I got one in the works I'm stoked about doing. So, yeah, there's going to be some fun UV stuff there. And they've already been posting a lot of pieces that people have been sending in. And, yeah, I think I saw one from Snick that looks like fire, if I remember correctly.
Neat.
It's gonna be sick. And then that's coming up. And then I don't know.
Hell yeah! Is that where you took your classes at too, at Tea Leaf?
I took a few at Tea Leaf. I took one down at Alchemy, and I feel like there was one somewhere else. Yeah, no. Yeah, most of them were down at Tea Leaf. And then I took one of the glass alchemy classes, which was the Salt and Voorhees class.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's
Yeah.
actually someone else too that's been putting on some really good classes lately is alchemy. Like they're wow, like they've been really doing it good.
Yeah, it's been interesting to sit back and watch them evolve as the kids have taken the company over and where they're taking it and kind of changing things around and then like realizing some things don't work, so then they go back to old ways, and they have their board of directors now, which I think is cool, having this collective of artists that have a voice and can give opinions about the way the shit really actually works. So it's
Yeah,
you know,
and they're
it's
doing a
interesting.
good job too.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. I know that they were frustrating a lot of the distributors because of them doing their own sales. Like I didn't really always agree. Like I'm actually gonna bring them on the show to talk about this too, because I didn't. There were times I didn't agree
Nice.
with their business practices, with what they were doing with selling to the public the way they were. It kind of I
Yeah,
don't know, kind of irked me a little bit. But I understand business is business, so what the fuck ever. But still,
right.
I want to talk about to that kind of stuff to them, just to kind of understand where they're at with the industry. But they definitely
Totally,
seem
because
to,
there was probably stuff going on in the back that was like, well, we kind of had to do it this way because of this, or
yeah, I'm
you know,
kind of
there's
yeah,
always a
yeah,
pretty much a logical reason
yeah.
for stuff in our industry, even though we don't necessarily see it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I understand
Yeah.
it. You know, you do something for the first time, and the logistics of things don't always work right, or something comes up you didn't think about. You know, so
Yeah,
yeah, that reminds me.
I'm
Complete.
really excited to see where they go. Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
no,
I'm
you're good.
really
I shouldn't
excited
let
to
you go.
see where they're going to take this company because, like, he's got a really good head on his shoulders. I had a chance to talk to him when I was taking the class, and I was just excited. Like, I was excited as a glass artist because of what he's doing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like the whole like CFL thing. That was just something he pulled out of his ass, man. And so, like, yeah, buddy, do it. You know, like, good job. You know, you're taking things and doing something with it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he has all of Dad's old knowledge, and then you know he's bringing it up to modern day with all kinds of new stuff, and it's like he's fired up. And so,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and the board of directors to help out. Like, I'm really excited to see where that company is going to go. You know, and North Star obviously is still plugging along, killing the game too. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, I'm stoked, man. Like it's our collar pouch just gonna keep growing.
yeah, man. It's fucking crazy. God.
I mean, 3 years ago, I was bitching about that we didn't have a good transparent purple, and now we got like 50 of them. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what's fucking funny though is like how the Chinese amethyst purple is like the original CFL as well as being like the
Mm-hmm.
original transparent purple, and that shit's tricky as fuck to use. Like I don't recommend anybody just using that stuff because it's not easy to
Oh, I
use.
hate
But
that shit, but I love it too.
yeah, dude, like I'm hopefully gonna be making Figment for Disney here for Erebus here soon. I'm part of my pitch, and I made him with that color and because he changes colors and Figment's imagination whole thing going from the color changing
Mm-hmm.
shit, you know. So
Nice, good move.
thanks. So I really got to learn how to use that color properly because we got a shit ton of that stuff. We got it in like 32 millimeter rod. It's fucking scary.
Man, I'm here to tell you, bud. One of the guys that, and in fact, it's actually the guy that you brought up that makes that thermal banger with the color changing stuff in the bottom.
Uh huh.
Most like he works a lot of color, but a lot of his like big bulk color stuff is all Chinese tubing,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how he does it. I mean, he works a Herbie, so I mean, I'll tell you that much. You know what I'm saying? But he gets away with it,
Mm-hmm.
and it might have something to do with the gentleness of the Herbie flame. But this guy makes Chinese tubing sing, and I'll play with it. I'm like, nope, this shit's gonna crack on me. I don't, but it's doable. It's really doable. But I would say, figure out a way to soften your flame up because I feel like the Herbie has a lot to do with his success rate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I use it for I use that purple for making flowers, and I do a lot of purple flowers with it. And I've got
Like solid work?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the pigment I'm making is gonna be solid
that
too.
shouldn't be too bad.
So it's yeah. So I should be okay. But once it cracks or it gets, it's really stiff. So things seem like it cools off easily or something. I don't know what it is. It's just weird because like the white is a different COE, and I've been using the shit out of the Chinese white for like the last 3 years. So I know,
Buddy, I
know
love Chinese white.
I know how to use it pretty good. But
Hmm.
that purple is stiff as fuck. But like the cobalt, Chinese cobalt's fucking butter. I love that shit. It's a really nice blue.
Bulletproof.
Yeah, it is. I agree absolutely. If
The
fume's
green's
nice,
not too bad.
Yeah, but you can't encase that shit, man. I try unless someone does, but I have tried honeycombs and encasements, and it checks like 90% of the time on me.
You know what you can do with it that is hella sick? You fume the inside of it, like you just fume the piss out of it with silver on the inside of it,
Uh huh.
and then just work it. Like looks gorgeous. Like I used to blow honeycombs with that, blow it hella thin, and then do a honeycomb, or just use that as tubing. But that silver, like when you really fume it heavy and you get that good silver layer, it carries through the green and it lightens up the green. I actually did a goblet way, way, way back in the day. I made 4 galaxy marbles and pushed them all together so that each of the lenses like faced a different direction, like north, south, east, and west, and used that as the stem. But I did the whole glass out of just fumed green tubing.
Interesting. That sounds
pretty. It's fun. Try it. Fume with it.
Yeah, I'll have to. I want to say I did a chandelier a couple years ago, and I want to say I did some flared out sections that had silver on the inside. Like I made the piece and then I fumed it after. I know I did them in blue too. The blue looks pretty gnarly too when you do that. Just add a bunch of silver to the blue.
Oh yeah, that wispy business.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's fun. Yes. Well, yeah, man. With that being said, I'm just looking at my time here. I think we should take a little quick break and thank our sponsors because we'll sit here and talk for the next 10 hours.
Oh, we'll do it, bud, for sure.
So, take a quick break. Thanks, sponsors. Come back, and then it'll be time for us to crash the kiln.
Sounds good.
This segment of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Zen Dude Fitness. Lose 10 pounds this month by joining the Zen Dude Fitness 4-week jump rope fat loss challenge. Brandon and Dan will take you on a guided journey towards becoming the best you. Get fit, have fun, and find new ways to eat healthy while still enjoying the sweeter side of life. Just takes 20 to 30 minutes a day and no gym required. For more info and to sign up for the free 4-week challenge, go to wiseguymedia.com/ZenDudeFitness. That's wiseguymedia.com/ZenDudeFitness. All right, we're back. So the crash and the killing round consists of 7 questions, and you can give me a 30 to 60 second answer on them, expound upon them as well as we always do. And the first heavy question I always like to ask is if there is any living glass artist that you want to work with, who is it and why?
Man, hearing your episodes, I knew this was coming, and I struggle for an answer. Because, I would kill to be able to work with my mentor. But, I wouldn't want to, I'd hate to miss out on an opportunity. I would love to work with Mike Souza, just to get in that guy's brain. I'd love to work with Deppy, just because the way that man's brain works and the way he fashions things and just, I'd love to work with Tuba. I mean, I don't know if there's one artist specific because there's so many out there that I'm just I took Chaw's class and I'd still like to work with him. Yeah. It was just, but yeah, I don't know, man. That one just has me stumped. I've never been able to come up with a good answer for that. Cool. But I will say this. The one that I've tried the hardest with is probably my mentor, which is a guy named Coyote Glass on Instagram. Yeah, that guy's my life mentor, not only as a person, but as a glass artist too. And to give you an idea of how legit of a dude this guy is, this is Scott's right-hand man. This is the guy that helped Scott build a lot of those heady pieces. So just to give you an idea of the level of brain this guy has, he's amazing. Yeah. So I probably would like to work with him, just have a good solid day to just go crazy.
Yeah, sounds like fun. I like the crazy days.
Yeah.
So what are your top 5 favorite colors in glass?
Top 5, probably Mystery Adventurine, Experimental Green, number 5.
Number 5? Is there 5 of them now?
Well, no, it's always been called that.
Oh, okay.
Before they canceled.
Just making sure.
That was the first name for it before, because see, they came out with it and it was a fuck up, and so they stopped it and discontinued it.
Right.
Hoarded. Everyone just hoarded it, and then they re-released it, and I guess they dropped the number 5. I still call it that, but
hey, that's
yeah,
cool.
experimental green of 5. One of the new color companies, I think it's Gannett, I think is how you pronounce it, but they came out with this CFL color that goes from purple to green. It's called Medusa, and that is definitely
Neat.
on my list. I love that color. Let's see what else. Purple Rain. I love Purple Rain. Definitely way more than Purple Lollipop. It's just so rich and ooey gooey. And then probably the new Thomas Transparent Orange.
Okay.
I can't get over this color. I don't know. I keep trying to find new applications to mess with it. It's just so buttery, and like when you blow it out as opposed to coiling it, oh my god, it's crazy. So,
yeah, I like those oranges.
Yeah. So probably those are my top 5. Right now. I think a couple of them might change here and there, but those are the ones I've really been loving to mess with lately.
Nice. Hell yeah. So what's your worst injury in the studio?
I don't even want to admit that one.
Dude, we've had some crazy stories on here, so make it a good one because I'm doing my best of for Halloween here pretty soon.
Oh shit! So this one might end up on there. I don't even know if I want to tell it. All right. Well, I'll say this for anybody who would be stupid enough to follow him. So being a previous machinist, rule number 1 is you never reach through the lathe. You just don't do it. You don't wear long sleeves, and you don't reach through the lathe when it's running. And my stupid ass reached through the lathe one night when it was running, and it caught my sleeve, and it wrapped my sleeve up into the chuck. And like, this is one of those true signs of fight or flight, because I reached out and grabbed the chuck and stopped the motor cold and then switched it off while it was spinning.
Jesus, dude.
But in the process of it spinning, it exploded the tube that I was working on, which was by an artist. It was a collab, and I'm not going to say the artist because I'm hell embarrassed and I hate myself for breaking this too. But it burned the side of my hand somehow. I think I might have, waved my hand in front of the Herbie when all this was going on and my arm was getting wrapped up in it. And then at some point, I think either my arm right near where it bends either touched a chuck or something metal that was hot, because it branded my arm.
Crazy.
Like, it didn't burn it, it branded it. It was like white. And like, I don't, because it wasn't burnt, you know what I'm saying? But it was, so like, it branded me. That was the only thing I could think of, was something really hot touched me and I got branded. But it got me good enough where it knocked the nerves out in my hand and my arm, and I didn't feel shit for 3 or 4 days, and I just cleaned up and went back to work.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but what was crazy was this was when I was building for my show down in LA. And like 2 days after being down in LA, all my nerves came back, and I woke up to my arm feeling like it just got ran over by a truck.
Oh man, yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah,
I tell people that all the time. Like, when you burn yourself, like a bad torch burn, it's like, yeah, you feel it about a week later.
Yeah,
when those nerves
especially
come
if you
back.
kill the nerves.
Yeah.
And like, for anybody out there listening, if you can ever get your hands on Silver Silvadine, it is the best burn cream ointment on the planet. And I've been on fire for over 3 minutes before, which was an unrelated glass injury. So, and that's what I used for that. So this shit is legit. And like, I barely have any scarring. Where I have a worse scar where I got branded than where I got burned, because of the Silver Silvadine.
Yeah, that stuff. We have a tube in every studio over at work.
Oh yeah, it's the shit.
Yeah, it's killer. Yeah, man.
So that was my worst one. Very fucking embarrassing. Oh, and I was on FaceTime with one of my stores when it happened, so he watched it all happen.
Oh my god.
It was unfucking real. And I was like, I gotta let you go, bud. And he's like, oh my god, Q, are you okay? I'm like, I'm good, buddy, but I gotta get back to work. This shit was too crazy.
Jesus, lucky you didn't like rip your arm out of socket or get chucked across the studio or some shit,
Or even worse, bro.
Yeah,
Like my
yeah.
fucking arm got, imagine like if that tube broke and was still spinning and my arm got caught in that broken spinning tube.
Yeah. Jesus.
I mean, like it would have just like shredded beef my arm, like
Yeah, it'd be
like I don't
fucked.
even want to think about what it could have been. I'm just like,
Yeah,
thank you, universe,
yeah.
for that hard lesson. Thank you for allowing me to walk out of it fairly unscathed. And I've learned my lesson. I will never do that again.
Yeah, man. So, when you're in the studio, you listen to the radio, watching TV, or do you do both?
A lot of times I got the trap playing. Like I got some gnarly trap going. But like I switch in and out. Like sometimes I'll throw on some records. I'll get my itch for some vinyl. I listen to podcasts a shit ton.
What are your favorite
Sometimes
podcasts?
I got a big. You guys, I love your podcast.
Yeah, thanks.
I like Joe Rogan's. His is fun. Mike Maron, he's a comedian that interviews other comedians and other shit. Like he's got a really cool running podcast. I really like that history guy that you've talked about.
Oh yeah, Dan Carlin.
Yeah, like he really gets into it, like 3-4 hour episodes a piece. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, buddy, just keep going.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But the problem is his one with the con got pulled off before I found out about it. So now I'm like, that was the one I really wanted to listen to.
You can go. I think it's like $1 an episode. You can go to his website and download them.
It'll just download into your podcast?
Yeah, I don't know if it's into your podcast or just like into your if they have an iPhone, into your like iTunes or your iMusic, whatever bullshit app they have. I know they're accessible because I know that because with iTunes the way it works is you can only have so much content on there. It's like 100 episodes or some shit, and they pull it. But because his are so long, every so often they get pulled off.
Yep. I've seen that. Probably my most favorite podcast that I listen to the most is one called Candy Teeth Creative, or Candy Teeth Radio is the podcast, but his Instagram is Candy Teeth Creative, and it's actually cool. Like he's a guy that was in the studio when I first started blowing glass, and he does like puppets and paintings and murals. He's doing a big 8x8 mural in my shop.
Neat.
But yeah, he's a Tacoma artist local, and so it's kind of fun to listen to him because it's like home almost. I hear stuff. It's like back in the day kind of stuff, like chuckling. But he's a riot. I love listening to him.
Hell yeah.
So
Cool.
Yep, those are probably my favorite.
So you have any glass blowing themed tattoos?
Not glass blowing theme per se. When the cap thing took off, and because I'm such a huge peacock freak, I got some like peacock work tattooed on my hands to go with kind of like the peacocks. But I haven't gotten any. I have one in mind that I want to get done. There's whenever you shoot a miner like at a big tube, like right in the middle of it, it starbursts the flame out like perfectly. And I don't know, it's always looked cool to me since I first started blowing glass, and I've always wanted to figure out a way to implement that flame burst onto me somehow.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I think I want to get the head of a Herbie tattooed on me somewhere because I'm a big groupie. So I want to get the face of a Herbie tattooed on me.
Yeah, dude, I got my Carlisle on my arm too.
Yeah, see, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's the torch love, man.
Yeah.
It's like we love our torches.
I got a full space, like my left arm is a full space scene, and like I have like my
sick.
planet Jupiter and stuff. But I had him turn my Carlisle into a little rocket ship, so it's like a little alien sitting inside the top of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Marcel would love that. What is it? A starship in every garage or whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I got to get him on this show, dude. He's got so much knowledge to share.
Dude,
Yeah.
he's
one of my
Marcel's
cats.
on one. He's a fun person to talk to.
Yeah, him and Banjo are like my next two gets I want to get on here.
Dude, I'd love to hear Banjo talk. I've been wanting to hear that interview for a minute.
Dude, fucking I'm having a brain fart. Talking Out Your Glass podcast. She has had Salt and Banjo both on so far. And
Who?
It's called Glass Art, talking out your glass.
Hold on a second. I got to write that down.
Yeah, I had her on the show. I don't remember, it was a while ago, but she's had Mickelson on. She had
Talking out your art?
no, talking out your glass.
Talking out your glass.
Yeah, Glass Art.
I'm going to look that up as soon as we get done.
Yeah, it's great. She just doesn't actually put numbers next to her shows, but she's probably got about 30 episodes.
Yes. That's at least 30 more hours of work. I love it.
Yeah. And it's all just...
That's a whole work week, at least.
It's a whole ton of like just different types of artists, from fused, stained glass, sculptural. I mean, you name it, she's had them on.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
So
thanks for the heads on that.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. So the last question is your top 5 favorite tools besides your torch and your glasses.
Probably, I love my American lathe. Like, I love this thing. I probably hug it every morning when I come in.
What size do you got? What size is the bed?
I have the Gator, but he's working on one called the Kraken that I want to get. That's got a little bit more swing room and a little bit more bed length. But I mean, this thing's kind of like I think they call them like not a pocket lathe, but like it's definitely a benchtop model. But I mean, dude, you can use it for so much, and I love it. And what's really sick about the American lathes that like no other lathe can touch. If something goes out on my lathe, if it's a tuning issue, I can call him up and he can tell me how to tune it on the fly, and I can get it right back to spec.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's not another lathe on there. But so my lathe would be one. My tungsten pick. I love my tungsten pick. My tungsten tweezers. I love those things. A paddle. Got to have a paddle of some sorts. I don't care what size it is. I just need a paddle. What else? Haven't really gotten into sculpting yet, but I do have this metal knife that I use for a lot of different necking things, and it's funny. It's the other half of a pair of tweezers that Sabina used to own. They broke, and she's like, "Here, you can have this for a sculpting knife," and I'm like, "Sick!"
Hell yeah!
So, yeah, so I got that, and then, man, I don't have it yet, but I would want a really fucking nice pair of jacks.
Mm-hmm.
I love jacks. Like that's one tool that I want in my repertoire that I plan on like really. I just haven't had the opportunity to get a good set yet.
Yeah. You're those.
But I've seen them in action.
Do you, those tungsten tweezers you have? Or are they like the bent neck ones?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, those are the best. I use those for jacks.
Oh man, I own 2 pair of them. I love them so much.
Yeah, we'll use one for your jacks too. Just like keep it waxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I use mine for. I use it for flaring all kind of blowpipes, all kind of sizes, 32, 44, all kind of shit. And you can get a nice.
You know what
wall.
I use them? I'll use them to flare out 12 mil tubing to create a coin slot for encasing opal coins.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I do the same shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
bud. See,
yeah.
you know.
Yep.
So,
Just did it the
yeah,
other day actually.
Oh, nice. And a blow hose. Gotta have a blow hose, man.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd be without my blow hose. I mean, I can work without one, but man, you can just, I don't know.
It was a game changer.
Gotta have a blow hose. Yeah, and the Smith torch, honestly. Once the evolution of the hand torch came in with the Smith torch, man, like you could tell the difference between a piece that had a hand torch used on it and one that hasn't.
Dude, my shit. I mean, literally, like I went and took the Quill and Steve Sizlove class that Tobacco Leaf had, and then I came home. I got the bent neck tweezers and I got my blow hose and hand torch set up, and literally over a weekend, my glass changed completely.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it was insane, and that was after I took these classes 2 years ago, so I've been like 16 years behind the torch already. And I went there because I wanted that. I wanted to see it. It wasn't a hands-on class. It was just watch these guys for 2 days, but just watching what they did and how their tools were used and etc. Just it gave me the confidence that I knew what the fuck I was doing already, and then it just cleaned my shit up. I also learned how Steve did his bubble trap technique, which I say all the time on this show, but You
Oh,
just,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but it's just a process of just cleaning my work up, and that was all it was, dude. A hand torch and a fucking blow hose. It's like,
Isn't that crazy, dude?
yeah, it's so
Like,
funny.
I'm serious. The hand torch is like probably without. I think most every glass blower will admit that like the hand torch was probably the biggest game changer for us.
Yeah, and a torch has been
It
around
had to have been.
forever. I mean that
Yeah.
you can go to fucking whatever store, hardware store, and buy it for $150. It's always been there. It's just silly we just finally figured it out after
You know what kills me? I used to work at a welding supply store, and I remember seeing those on the counter, and I was like, "Oh, that's fun! I should get one with my employee discount." You know, they would have been like $90 for me or something like that. And I'm like, "What the fuck am I going to weld with that little thing? It's not going to do shit." 3 years later, I can't live without the thing.
Exactly. Yeah,
And I didn't buy it on employee discount. I'm like, "Some bitch."
yeah, no, full price.
Yeah, what are they, 130 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Do you
I'm
have
like
a,
five.
did you get a different tip for yours? Like, did you buy it from another company?
Oh yeah, crucial. The I think I've pretty much tried every single aftermarket tip that they have out there, and they all do something different. I mean, they really do. Like I think I pretty much use the Hornet the most on mine, but I don't. I've got the Shobo tips. I've used the Blast Shield ones, but yeah, they're. I think the Hornets are my favorite. They just
Yeah,
they
me
get
too.
in there and they do the work. And but man, I'm here to tell you, if you ever get a chance to use one of the Herbie hand torches, they are where it's at, buddy. Actually, I might have to make an addendum. I have to bring my Herbie hand torch
Yeah.
on my tool list because I love that thing. That thing is a laser.
Can you make a decent bush out of it too, or is it mostly just a pinpoint?
Nah. This thing is for ripping tubes. Like this is pretty much the hand torch I would say that is primarily used for most of the real buttery welds that the ship does.
Okay.
Like it just like I'll send you a picture of the torch when we get off the phone and like oh my goodness, dude. And it's crazy because it's got the little head is a 2-stage head just like the Herbie.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. But man, I'll tell you what, I'll be ripping down when I'm making glasses. You know, I'll be using like 80 by 5 or something like that. And I can flame cut 80 by 5 with this torch
Jesus.
in like 2 inches, just raging.
It's like a
And
plasma
it'll just
cutter.
slice it. Pretty much. Like it will do the dirt. But it's so hot that I only use it for when I really want a laser. Like if you want to blow through a donut or if you want to do a Jesus seal, this is your baby. But, you know, like I feel like a lot of times I use my Smith because it's not as aggressive, you know, because this thing is a laser. Like it's going to get the job done yesterday.
Fuck yeah. That's good to know. Well, yeah, man. So before we let you go here, if you want to give us a parting piece of advice, and then where we can find you out there in the world of cyberspace.
Yeah. I would say for any of the glass artists that are out there that listen, like, man, stay original. We all use the same techniques. Learn the techniques, please. Like, study the techniques, use the techniques. But, you know, make them your own. You know, find your own voice. Don't try to, it's not going to happen overnight. You know, most glass blowers don't find their voice until like year 10, you know. So, but like commit, love it, be a part of it, you know, and glass will be beautiful, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad you said the 10-year thing too, because it's true. It's like a about 10 years, even if you haven't someone showing you shit.
Yeah. Well, I think around year 5, you begin to walk, and around year 10, you kind of have your voice and you can kind of say what you want to say a little bit, you know? But yeah, as far as finding me, my page on Instagram is Q_Heffner_glass. And then the QFZ page is QFZ_ for the people. But most of my stuff gets, most of like my QFZ experience, my QFZ life, it's all on my page, Q Heffner Glass. So
Hell yeah. And I'll have all your links.
That's me for now. Eventually, I'll get on Facebook and I'll have a Q-Heffner out there in the Facebook world, but I'm just too scared. I don't want to deal with all the crazy nonsense of trolls and all that bullshit.
You should
I
have
like dealing
one.
with cool
I'm telling
people.
you, man. When we get off the phone, you should go on Facebook and make a business page for yourself, and then turn your
I
Instagram
really
into
do.
it, and then link your Instagram to it, and then everything will be posted together simultaneously. You can hit a broader audience.
I'll tell you what, when I come down to Florida and I'm visiting Mom and I'm coming by to see you at Epcot, we'll sit down over coffee and you can show me how it's done, and then we're like, yeah, we'll go that way.
Well, if you're coming to Epcot, dude, we're gonna have to have it over some beers and some sangria and tequila and sake.
Mojitos?
Dude, whatever country has what, we'll hit them all.
Yes! Talking my language, bud. But
And
we're
by-
up in the Pacific Northwest, so we pretty much just eat, sleep, and breathe coffee. It's kind of part of our being up here.
Yeah, no, that's my life, dude. I'm hashtag coffee life.
Yes, for the win. But yeah, definitely want to get down there. And there's a lot of people in Florida anyways.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No, people that are good that I want to see. Like, there's some awesome
Oh yeah,
people
yeah.
down
I see
there.
what you mean. Yeah, sorry, I was being
Yep.
literal.
No, there's definitely some ignorant fools down there too. Like
There's
the,
just a lot
the
of fucking
snowbirds.
people, just in general. Oh, I remember when I was in high school, or maybe it was middle school, and they were doing like the census, and it was like 10 million people are living in Florida, and now there's like 10 million people in the county I live in. It's like, fuck, man. What
Yeah.
the shit.
Yeah, it's packed down there
Yeah.
and spread out, which is really weird.
Yeah, and there's still a shit ton of land here, which is awesome, but it's because it's all swamp. Nobody wants to fucking live in the mosquito stuff.
You get eaten by gators and fucking moccasins.
Yeah, dude, we had, and when, I mean, we're completely continuing this, whatever, but there was, I don't give a fuck. There was two nights in a row here, like last month, 2 different car accidents were caused from alligators crossing the highway, and like one chick flipped her fucking truck, and another dude was on a crotch rocket and hit this alligator going like 90, and
Oh shit!
had to get like medevac.
Did he live?
out. Yeah, he survived, but the gator was like,
No way.
killed on impact. Yeah, it was like back-to-back nights. Gators crossing the highway. It's like only in Florida bullshit you got to deal with here.
Oh man, if it's not gators, it's sharks, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss it though. I can't lie, I miss it. I love Florida.
Yeah, dude. When you come here, bro, you got a spot. I'm getting a new townhouse here, moving into in September, and it's got a 2-car garage. So we're gonna have a studio. There'll be 3 of us living together that are glass artists that work together. So we're gonna.
Nice. You're converting it to a studio?
Yeah, we're gonna do it on the hush hush because I don't know if it's a little cute little townhouse subdivision kind of gimmick. I don't know what the rules
Right.
are yet, but it'll be
Yeah.
incognito. We'll be good to go. I know how to do that shit. So yeah.
Yep. Keep it on the low key.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we figure if we can come home every night, make a pipe every day, and then that'll pay our the mortgage on the place. So
Easily.
yeah, dude.
Hell
so,
yeah, man.
Cool. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, and
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, man. I much appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. And just hang on. We'll say our goodbyes off the air here in a sec.
Sounds good.
So, all right. Well, I hope you all enjoy this episode with Q-Heffner. Check him out on Instagram, all the social feeds. Hopefully, he'll have a Facebook here soon. And if he does, I will have that in the show notes. And he'll have his own page, too. You go to wiseguymedia.com/167. That'll be his episode page. And until next time, well, he's taking bong rips. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. And we'll talk to you next time. Take it easy. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Glassroots Art Show. Now entering its 9th year, Glassroots is designed for artists and distributors who wish to do wholesale business with shops and galleries. Located at the Monona Terrace Convention Center on beautiful Lake Monona in downtown Madison, Wisconsin, the art show features at least 25 glassworkers demonstrating and creating pieces for public viewing, live and silent auctions, raffles, and approximately 40 booths consisting of raw material supplies, functional and non-functional art, and glass charitable organizations. This year, in 2017, Glassroots will be held October 9th through the 11th, and for any more information, just go to glassrootsartshow.com. That's glassrootsartshow.com. This episode is also brought to you by The Flow Magazine. Since its inception, the focus of the Flow has been to provide a bond among members of the lampworking community. This has been accomplished by developing relationships with the finest artists and sharing their techniques with you through in-depth, step-by-step tutorials. In every issue, you can enjoy great content with the hottest artists and cutting-edge techniques using the latest industry products. These features, along with the continuation of our Women in Glass edition, Glasscraft Emerging Artist Awards, inspiring gallery showcases, dynamic general interest articles, as well as health and safety information, make the Flow the leading international lampworking journal. For more information or to subscribe to The Flow, go to theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com.